Transformation Committee meeting of Wednesday, the 15th of October, 2025. I will welcome everyone to the meeting in the room here, in the Lillian Hopkin room in the Guildhall, and to colleagues online. Can I go to agenda item number 1? Apologies for absence. Gareth, do we have any?
Councillor Bev Hopkins, Chair, sir.
Thank you. Number 2, disclosures of personal and prejudicial interests. Do we have any? Committee members? No one indicating? We'll move on to item number 3, which is the minutes of the last meeting. Can I have a look at first page number 1 of the minutes, then page number 2, and page number 3. If committee members are happy, then we can approve and I can sign them on your behalf. Are we content? Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, gents online. Thank you very much indeed. So moving on swiftly to agenda item number 4. We have been sent a report, Food in Schools, and I will pass on to Kelly to take us through the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully everyone's got a sight of the report for me to take you through it. Section 1, the introduction, just reminding everybody that this is the second of 3 programmed meetings for this municipal year, looking at food in schools and looking to produce a final statement regarding food in schools that we could then publish on our website ideally. So section 4 is an update on the actions we agreed from the previous meeting. The first action being surveying schools for feedback on the current provision. So we did that in 2 ways. We gathered some information from a primary head teacher conference, and we also circulated an online survey. So the results there are attached. We asked how happy the schools were, the primary schools were, with the catering service and the quality of the catering service. We also asked them to prioritise what they consider to be the most important aspects of the catering service, and as we would expect, quality of food has come out on top of that survey. We had also asked about the level of supervision, whether we felt that that was at a correct level for frontline staff. The majority had gone for that they felt there should be more supervision, and indeed we have already enacted that, and we've looked to appoint some additional supervisory staff in the team. The online survey results I've summarised in the table. We were looking at some feedback on the secondary school variety of food. We do change the menu constantly, but we will consider, in future, including more new items where that's appropriate. There was some feedback on special schools diet consideration, and we are sort of quite constrained on that from paediatric dietitians' advice. So unless we get different advice from them, we do, provide a standard menu. Consideration of special diets in mainstream schools. We do provide 2 nutritious options every day, so that should cover the vast majority of dietary needs, which will include vegetarian and halal, compared to other authorities that only offer that one option. There was some feedback about the amount of waste in our schools. I think we've talked before about potatoes potentially. So the schools now have a logbook that the cook fills in. It does note the amount of waste in those schools. We have noticed an increase since the introduction of universal free school meals. I think we mentioned this in the previous meeting, that learners do tend to bring in a packed lunch and have their entitlement for free meals. So that could be leading to the increased waste. And we've also had changes where we can only now dispose of food waste in certain ways. So rather than putting them through the drains, we now buy pre-prepared potatoes. So the team have reminded the cooks out there just to make sure they follow the cooking instructions for those potatoes. Size of food portion, just some feedback on whether children of all learners should be having the same size food portion. We do have to follow the Welsh Government regulations on that, so we do have to provide that same portion size. However, learners can take advantage of the bread basket and the unlimited salad bar, so they can top up on that for a larger appetite. Another action we had was to establish a focus group with a selection of service users and staff. So we have established that group and we had our first meeting earlier this month. We've got a range of staff on there. We've got managers, supervisors and some representative cooks from the primary and secondary schools. So, you know, we've only had that first sort of introductory meeting as yet, but that's going to be a useful group for us to consider the results of the school surveys as an example in the next meeting. Section 7, undertaking a site visit with the members of this group and providing some feedback. So we did hold that session. We went to YG Tyrdyno and YG Bryn Tywi at the end of September, and we sampled the primary school lunch there, and sort of witnessed the pupils' experience in that dining experience in the secondary school over their lunchtime. And I think the feedback, you know, we had at the time and the written feedback that we've had from some of the members was that it was, you know, a really good experience and the food was really tasty. So I've got on the top of page 7 there, we've just got some feedback from the quotes from the SDC members. There was, as part of the feedback, just some thoughts about, is that a consistent offer across all of the schools? So just one of the things we put on the report there is just, you know, advising that we do have a recipe for every school meal. It is, you know, a simple recipe that's in a recipe manual that everybody can follow. The cooks do get training, they get trained at college, so catering service as well. And the supervisory support that goes out to the schools then will help any new cooks and also, you know, give some support to longer term staff if needed. But those supervisors also have a role in a quality control sort of way as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we have looked at additional supervisory posts as well to give that sort of extra level of support and to check that consistency. Section 8, we talked before about the new proposed healthy eating guidance from the Welsh Government. So Monica and Alison have been trialling that out with a sample of schools in the autumn term. We have attached an appendix that gives some feedback on that and a sample of what that menu looks like. But I was wondering if Monica could perhaps just give us a little highlight of the difference between that menu and the current menu.
Amy, thank you. So the difference in the proposed standards with regards to vegetables, currently we have to provide at least one vegetable portion or salad.
Sorry, Monica, is that where we at Appendix A now, just in case members are not sure where we are? Is that right, Appendix A with the menu?
It's just some supplementary sort of information with regard to the menu and appendix.
Lovely, thank you. Sorry, a little bit behind then. Thanks.
Okay. So things, when we created the trial menu, items that we looked at were the items that were in the proposed standards that were currently out for consultation. Before we completed that paper, we wanted to trial it so we were able to complete it fairly.
Yep.
So items that are in the proposed standards are the vegetables. So currently on the current standards, at least one portion of veg or salad has to be present, and the proposed standards state that at least 2 portions of veg or salad items need to be present, which isn't a problem for Swansea because currently on our menu that we currently have, that is already existent. So that new standard, the proposed standard, we would meet. With regards to fruit available, 1 portion must be available daily, which we currently have available anyway. So we already meet those standards that are in the proposed standards. With regards to bread, what they did propose is that there would be at least 50% wholemeal in the bread. This is something that we did take on board, and we changed all the bread that we had in our schools to a 50-50 bread to meet the standards. And what we have noticed, this has been running since June last year, what we have noticed is that there's been no decrease in consumption of the bread. So it's been positive. And with this has come the increase in fiber intake for our pupils. With regards to pasta, rice and noodles, in the proposed standards, they would like us to have at least one of these items to be 50% wholemeal. Well, we already currently meet that standard in Swansea, where we have our rice, which is a brown rice, so that meets that standard. With regards to fish, they're asking for at least one portion to be available each week, which we currently do on a Friday in our menu. With regards to meat and red meat, they're asking for at least one portion a week to be on the menu. These are the proposed standards, but not more than 2 portions. Well, we currently already meet that guidance. Okay, with regards to processed products, for example, like your crumbed fish or crumb products, the current standards, it's not more than twice a week, and the proposed standards will be not more than once a week. We currently don't meet that. So on the new menu that we did put out for trial, we did reduce this to once a week. With regards to dairy, where cheese is the main protein source, what they are recommending in the new proposed standards is that we have it no more than twice a week on the menu, whereas currently there is no standard around this. With regards to desserts, what they have requested is that in the new proposed standards is there will be no more than 3 portions of dessert or pudding a week, and the other 2 days we need to use alternative products like yogurt, milk-based dessert, or cheese and crackers. So you'll find that on the trial menu we did meet this new proposed requirement, where we put in yogurt or cheese and crackers on the alternative days as a pudding, and only 3 sweet items per week. Something that was in the proposed guidance was the portion size. They are proposing to possibly have 2 different portion sizes for juniors and infants. With regards to the juniors, it will be approximately 3/4 of an adult meal. And with regards to the infant portion, it will be half of an adult meal. This is something we didn't trial in the new trial menu, because we'd like to receive further guidance if this will be something that will be looked at. So taking all this in mind, what we did is we then created the trial menu, which we took forward, and we added a couple of extra menu items onto. Yeah. Did you want to talk a little bit about the kale and the farmers?
Yeah, I could do. Do you want to switch yours?
Thanks.
So recently, as part of the trial with the menus, we decided that it would be a good opportunity as well, wouldn't it, to put some new recipes out and trial those as well. So I recently attended a conference and had to present, and there was a discussion around how do we use more Welsh produce, really. So we are part of the Welsh Veg Initiative, and that was brought up. And also I asked one of the farmers, what do they produce a lot in Wales that's easy to grow? Because that's another difficulty that we got in this area, isn't it? Is the weather and and obviously the infrastructure to produce all this veg that we would require. And so one farmer said, well, actually, we can really do a lot of kale. It's very easy to grow in Wales, and it's very fruitful, really. So on the basis of that, I said, well, that would be a solution to all, really, if we could get that on the menu for the, and other authorities took this on in Wales, that would help the farming community to have something to support them. And I had a discussion with Monica. She came up with the idea, really, of perhaps producing some kind of pesto around that. So you have a pasta with a pesto sauce in, which many children seem to enjoy these days, and the different palettes that we see. And we've worked closely with Casa Howell, who's our supplier, and they have been a chef to develop some recipe around making a pesto with kale. Not as easy as it sounds, of course. So it's still in development stage, but we have introduced it into the trial menu to see what the children thought about it, really, isn't it?
Great, thank you both. Yeah, so we've had some feedback there noted on that appendix as well from the learners in the school. So we just await now the Welsh Government giving us further feedback now after the consultation on the health eating guidance. So section 9 on the report, we were looking at working closer with Cardiff Council to understand their recent catering review. So we have reached out to them and started that initial discussion with them. Section 10, drafting a memorandum of understanding between the schools and the catering service on the different roles, so including support for special diets, So we're just noting there that, because of medical needs, some learners will have a special diet, and we just want that clarity in that memorandum of understanding. So that's something we're proposing then to bring to you as a draft in the next SCC meeting for your consideration. And I've bullet pointed there some of the considerations that we were looking to include in that memorandum of understanding. Section 11, establishing a food waste monitoring system. We have implemented that, so that, as we said, the daily logbook now will include a section on the record of waste, and through the supervisors then we can suggest if there's any tweaks needed to menus, etc. Section 12, then digitalisation of elements of the service to give those efficiencies, and establishing the training where necessary. We have created an action plan through our Education Digital Transformation Project group. So we are mapping out there how we can get that digitalisation sort of kick-started and give training to our staff where needed. So just the last sort of real paragraph there, section 13, looking at the draft statement for food in Swansea schools. So with your guidance, really, what we're looking at is including all of the feedback we've had from the survey and the action plan, and trying to mould this now ready for our next meeting into a draft statement for your consideration on food in schools in Swansea, and looking to publish that on our website for reference for parents. And including those items that I've listed there, so responsibilities of schools and the catering service, which is that memorandum of understanding from the previous section, healthy eating and options available at the school, the free school meal offer, online payments that we provide for our learners and parents, dietary provision and special diets, something about the breakfast club offer that also provides food for our learners in primary schools before the start of the school day, and something on waste as well. So if you are happy with that, then that's where we will look to make a draft ready for the next meeting.
Thanks, Kelly. Thank you, Alison, and thank you, Monica. Before committee members put their hands up, I'm waiting for you to put your hands up, and of course with Councillor Joy in the room. Great report. Thank you very much for the detail. Very much appreciated indeed. This is when we went on our visit, and I know committee members will want to mention the visit in a minute. I certainly will. What struck me is that this is a big beast, isn't it? It's we saw two. We saw a primary and a comp, of course. And what struck me was the importance of very good and strong, clear management and a sense of standardisation, so you can control the many different levers. And I thought that was impressive. Has free school meals created a significant problem with the waste? How big is the waste challenge? Is the one question that came through this. And is there a way that we could plan ahead for that waste by understanding whether children are going to come with packed lunches or not, if that's one of the key areas? Who should I point the question at? I'm thinking Alison. Alison?
Oh, hi, yeah. I suppose the first step for us is to establish how much waste that we've got, so that we've now included that into our logbook, and then perhaps analysing by school. So it might be not every school has this issue. So universal free school meal has brought through like an entitlement. So parents feel the children are entitled, which they are, to having a meal. And in some instances, they might be including some extra snacks, or maybe sort of little packed lunch in the bag, just in case children don't like it. I have no proof of that at the minute, other than what we're hearing from our cooks and sharing. I suppose that's something, another step, isn't it, to sort of really understand where this waste is, and is it particular areas, is it particular? And so I think that needs to be investigated further, which is hopefully we'll be able to draw from our cooks noting it down, not just telling us, oh, there's a lot of waste.
Good, thank you very much, Alison. Okay, I'm looking on screen here. We've got Councillor Mike White. Mike?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Alison. It's in relation to the focus group. You obviously got staff and managers and supervisors. Have you considered putting a pupil on there? Because obviously they talk to colleagues when they're having their lunch and that. to plus give some input into that focus group? And also in
Councillor.
regards to the breakfast clubs, are you able to give any idea of what percentage of this is taken up with our schools? You know, because obviously it's the first thing in the morning, and children need to have some food inside them before they start, their school day. And just wondering, have you got any idea of what is the actual take up of the breakfast club scheme within the authority, if that's possible? Thank you,
Thanks,
Chair.
Mike. Alison?
Okay, shall I take the breakfast one first then? So as regards breakfast, that is an opportunity for schools to take that up if they wish through their governors, and all the schools, our primary schools in Swansea do take that up. It is very variable across all the schools' percentage feeding really on breakfast. We haven't had to refuse anybody, as far as I know. The schools actually run the supervision side of that business, so we really deliver on the food, the catering aspect, if you like. So the supervision is down to them, so they might be guided slightly by the amounts that they can take in by the supervision level, but certainly is open to all, and our numbers are, I think, I'm not sure what the latest figures are, so I'd have to double check on that to be up to date, really. But it does vary. The percentage, the take up in some of our larger schools is very, very high. It's very, very, very difficult to serve that number of children in a short space of time, because that's just, the window is 30 minutes prior to the start of the school day. So it's a very limited time. Although schools can and do provide their own club, if you like, prior to when we start our the statutory the element of breakfast just before the start of the school day. Okay.
And that's good. The first part of the question about the pupil voice in the process.
Yeah, so initially we started the focus group to sort of get a feel really from our staff, and certainly Councillor White, it might be something that we could take things to the pupils. I will say to you that we do a lot of work. Our supervisors go out and about and meet with our school councils, and that's where you get the most out of, because you don't want to put people in a situation with a lot of adults. So we actually go out to schools and sit with the children in a school council environment, and I think you get a lot more from that, which is what we did. You'll see our responses for the new menu put out. The school council were visited and chatted to, so you do get a lot more response when they're in their own environment. So it's something that we do anyway, but certainly there may be some aspects that we could take to them and invite somebody in, and certainly do that if we need to.
Thanks, Alison. Thank you, Mike.
Can I come back?
Yeah, of course you can. Go on, Mike.
Chair, please. So there's no, so you don't get any evidence from schools of the actual, nothing comes back to you in say a weekly return of how many pupils attend breakfast clubs, that you are not, there's no sort of method in place for you to sort of monitor that. Why I ask that is really is that if you know that there are families that could, it would be beneficial for them to get their children to go to breakfast club before school, and to also set them up for the day. Plus we could do that by saying, well, look, we're only getting 46% or 52%, where we want to look at some of the target of 80% or even more than that,
Thank you, Mike. Before I pass on to Alison, I could see that I absolutely appreciate the thinking behind the question there, but I wouldn't want to be adding a bureaucratic burden onto schools to be collecting even more data than they've got to collect at the moment. And just to add to what Mike said, would it be fair to say or to ask whether schools are really quite attentive to the needs of children and to take the temperature of children, particularly those children who would really benefit from the breakfast club?
As regards the breakfast provision, schools do encourage the children. We do take numbers, by the way, so we are able to have a number of how many children in each school take the breakfast up. And I know that schools do encourage, and I'm sure they are very keen to get children in as early as possible to make sure that they get that provision before the start of the day, because they do say that it's that little chat and the food as well settles them down for the day to start lessons.
Thank you, Alison. Okay, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, moving on. Councillor Lyndon Jones. Lyndon?
Chair, could I, first of all say we went to the school and the two schools and tasted the food, and it was delicious. The food we tasted, I have to say, what we did learn though, speaking to some of the teachers who had children because they lived out of county and they had children working in going to schools in other counties, and they didn't get the choice. Which was interesting. So when you look at an overall picture in Wales, that might reflect that, and that waste might be much larger as well, because they don't get that element of choice that we are actually giving children. So I think worth noting. I think certainly I felt the head cook in the school where we had the lunch. We asked him a number of questions. He was really up for those questions, really enthusiastic. And do we have some sort of award that we can give? It could be a certificate or whatever to a cook who does really well. And is it something we could possibly think about to reward them for the work that they actually are doing, and something to aim for? On your excuse me, I've managed to pick up a dry cough, which is annoying for you guys. Yeah, the other thing on the choice of food, we've got oven, for example, the first one, oven baked sausages, and then you go halal sausage. Are the oven baked sausages halal sausages, or are they ordinary sausages? Or are they two separate products, or are they the same? And that goes for other things, like we had meatballs and halal meatballs. Are they the same product or two different products?
Thanks, Lyndon. Alison?
Oh, hi, Lyndon. They're two different products. It's interesting that you will see some comments with the head teachers. One head teacher has said that they didn't want the the veggie sausage and the normal sausage on at the same day because children. But we had a problem when we separated them out, because when a child sees the sausage, they don't see the veggie bit, they just see sausage. So if it's on another day, we have trialed it, and children will still choose the veggie sausage thinking they're going to have a meat sausage, if you like. So that caused some confusion, which is why we put it on the same day. As regards the meatballs, the choice is, when it's on as a main option, it's against you will see the choice on the normal menu as a meat-free option. And then when it's served as a halal, it's a halal meatball.
Right, okay. Okay, because I'm thinking obviously it's the difference in the way that the animals are slaughtered, I think, which would cause concern to some people. So, if we can have ordinary, for example, meatballs as well as halal meatballs, it reduces the way those animals are slaughtered. The other thing is the point that Councillor Mike White mentioned was about children on the focus groups. Maybe instead of having one child, you had 2 or 3, so they wouldn't feel quite alone. And we were in a scrutiny programme meeting yesterday where we were following through on co-production, and here's a real example of we've got using children then at every level. So not just in school councils, but they were actually at that table with the focus group as well. So I'd like you to possibly consider that as an option. But I tell you, you know, the overall, the food that we had was delicious. I think the point that I sort of made in a comment that I made was what we need to do is to ensure, and it's not easy, consistency across the estate. And you know, if you go to different establishments in Swansea and taste the same product, you'll have it will be good in some places and not so good in others. It's not easy, but certainly we want to try if we can to get that consistency. And finally, if I can, on the vegetables, potatoes, the potatoes we had were fine and they were delicious, but I can't see why we can't peel potatoes. You know, we do it at home, and you know, to get ready potatoes isn't quite the same as having a, you know, a peeled potato, and it shouldn't be beyond us. And you know, that the peelings are simply recycled, and a lot of schools have now got gardens, and they can certainly recycle them in those gardens, in compost. So you know, they wouldn't go to waste at all, the peelings, and in fact, you know, there'd be less plastic around them, or paper, whatever is around them. So they could be, you know, it could be better, not worse. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Lyndon.
Bits then.
Can I just ask Alison on the peeling potatoes? Can we have a look at peeling potatoes? For me, management or Monica, either of you, but the idea of management and standardising the process is important. But Linda's asking the question about whether it would be possible for us to prepare potatoes.
The topic around the potatoes is that with our industrial peelers, potato peelers and carrot peelers that we had on site, what was happening is that they're polluting the water. New regulations came into effect, which doesn't allow us to pollute the water anymore. So hence why we had to remove our industrial peelers. I appreciate your comment with regards to why can't we just peel them. But when we're serving plus 400 pupils a day, to be able to peel that amount in the space we have would be an extensive exercise. So hence why we have looked into these products that we currently have that are a very good quality product. Yes, we did have, I will admit, we did have issues in the beginning, and those issues were around overcooking the product. So we have given instruction out and training out with regards to overcooking these products. And it was brought up again in one of the comments that we received from the school. So we have got that on our agenda in our next fortnightly meeting to provide training again on the overcooking of these potato products, because if they are cooked correctly, they are a good quality product, as you did taste it when you were in Tadino.
Thank you, Monica. Is that okay, Linda? I think Lyndon's gone for a second. Or you're on mute, Lyndon.
Sorry, apologies.
Sorry?
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is obviously everybody used to peel potatoes, and we had lots of children in school in those days as well, and they were made almost daily. You know, it's a product that we could get on our doorstep, because there would be farms in the vicinity of almost every school that we could get. So it wouldn't need to be mass produced and put into bags, probably plastic bags, and come in frozen. So you'd get the potatoes locally, and it would be from field to fork. And we would be helping our local farmers by doing that. So that is, if you like, a benefit, not a cost.
Thank you, Lyndon. I think it's a very important point, and I mean the kale point that you made earlier as well is directly relevant in this context. And I'd be interested to see what scope there is to expand, if that works, to expand on that experiment to see how much local produce we could get on the menus of local schools, including potatoes, if that's feasible as well. Monica?
So currently there is Welsh Vegan School, and we have joined this initiative of this Welsh Vegan Schools. They are coordinated by Food Sense Wales. And they did a study in 2022, only 6% of veg bought by public sector in Wales was sourced locally. And their vision is by 2030 that 25% of all primary schools will have access to local veg. So we have joined forces, and we started with this initiative in our Food and Fun in the summer, where we had 7 schools that were carrying out Food and Fun. And during that period, all our lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers that we received were all part of Welsh grown produce and organic. And they gave us a call during the summer and said, we've got excess of green beans. Can you take it on board? So we immediately changed our menu, and we added these green beans, which were a great success, and the pupils really enjoyed it. For our autumn term currently, at the moment, we're taking on approximately 100 kilos of fresh broccoli weekly, organically grown in Wales. And this is going into 6 of our schools. And as Welsh Vegan Schools increase their load of produce as they are increasing the amount of farms that they have, we will be able to increase the amount of schools that we put this fresh vegetables in. We do have due diligence, so all our vegetables are coming through our current supplier. So we do have to be very mindful of that. Hence why this vegetable and this initiative is great, because it's going through our current suppliers, which cover our due diligence. So absolutely, we are all about getting as much of our Welsh veg into our schools, and we're excited to be part of this initiative.
Thanks, Monica. It's very exciting. It's very interesting. It's a very important area for us. And how local can we be? I mean, it's great to see Welsh produce, but how local can we be, and how can we drive up this percentage over time? It's an exciting and important area. Did you want to come back, Monica?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that currently, locally, the current farms around us locally don't grow potatoes locally at the moment, but we're hoping that with this Welsh Vegan School initiatives that's coordinated by Food Sense Wales, that with time that these farmers will go back to growing these vegetables that we did once have surrounding us.
That's excellent. There's certainly great potential there. Can I ask Councillor Jardine to pause for a second? Yvonne, I do apologise, but Councillor Robert Smith has been very, very patient waiting in the room here. So, Cabinet Member Robert Smith.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
No.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Of course, I don't mind.
Just wanted to say and thank Councillor Lyndon Jones for bringing up that issue in relation to the halal and the non-halal options, and giving our officers the opportunity to make it absolutely clear what the position is in Swansea. And I appreciate the opportunity that's been given, because I think it is important that the truth goes out from this meeting and from this authority about the reality of the situation. And I think the officer has made it absolutely clear that those are separate and distinct options. I think it's important that that's understood moving forward, Chair.
Thank you very much, Robert. Okay, now, Councillor Yvonne Jardine. Yvonne?
Thanks, Chair. Actually, I'm glad I did give way, because Rob has said, Councillor Smith has said some of what I was going to say. I'll just add that, providing I feel like with vegetarian things, when I go to events, if it's very vegetarian, there's a label on it. So there's a choice. And if there's labels to say it's halal or non-halal, I can't really see that there's a big problem. But why I originally put my hand up was we were talking about waste. And what I was going to say is that I think it's quite tricky to decide or to reduce waste, or to say it's wasted because. But I think some things are that, as I've said before, you arrive and your meal's on your plate and your eyes just say, I'm not going to eat that, no matter how good it sounds and how nice it smells. Plus, there are lots of children, I don't think we fully take into account that they come to school with no intention of eating. We might provide their meal, but they don't intend to do so for lots of different reasons. And sometimes I think it's quite hard to expect school to manage every microcosm of why the children do or don't. But one school I'm governor for, there's a table of children who their parents bring their lunch every day. Oh, they come with their sandwiches, but some of them will only eat the food if it's brought at lunchtime by a parent. So it's no good giving it to them in the morning because, and I would imagine those sorts of things apply to school dinners that's provided. It's not what you expect. It's not provided by the person. You've got your own inhibitions. And so wastage, I think, it might be something we need to look at, but I don't think it's something that we'll completely eradicate. That's it, Chair Max.
Thank you, Yvonne. I'll ask Alison or Monica if they'd come in a second. Very important point. And I think when I say about management and standardisation, I think what came across very powerfully during our visit was happy, smiling children. That was resounding, and I think members who were there on a visit, we all felt this and saw it. My comment was about the little boy in Bryn Tywi that the head teacher promised he hadn't planted, who did a drum rap on the table, licked the last of his juice off his plate, and was clearly delighted with the lovely meal he'd had. You know, so when I say about taking the temperature, I think what we felt was that the staff are attentive to the children's needs, not just the teaching staff and the practitioners, but the catering staff and the cooks and everyone involved around the kids there. And that was really, I think, quite powerful. There's a constant interaction. You know, it's not like having a meeting, getting people in the room and closing the book. This is constant all day, every day in 93 Swansea schools, which is really powerful. Thank you, Yvonne. On the waste side, do you have anything to add in that context, Alison? I mean, children, I said before that I was a fussy child when I was in school. I was a bit of a nightmare for my parents to cope with, you know, and monitoring the waste is going to be challenging. But if I got it correctly, you're going to go through a process of trying to establish the amount of waste and the reasons why that we've got an increased amount of waste and what action we could take as a positive step to improve things. Is that right?
Yes, I think I should say to you that every morning in registration, the children in the primary sector are asked what they would like for lunch. So they're given the option and they choose option 1, option 2, or they have, say they'll have a packed lunch. So cook knows exactly how many she's cooking for. So I probably should tell you that. So we're not actually just cooking for a numerous number without having identified it by a particular sort of ask, if you like. As regards, and I take on that, that's very true comments really, that, you know, you might fancy something in the morning and then you go to eat it and then perhaps you don't want everything on your plate. And there's, I don't know what you can do about that, but I think it's important to look at waste, even if we come back with, well, actually, that's a reasonable amount of waste in that school, but that's not a reasonable amount. And why is that? And I take on an earlier point to sort of making sure that our standard and our quality is good across the board, so that, which is all part of our monitoring procedure, making sure that each and every child in Swansea has the same quality meal on the plate, really.
Thank you, Alison. Okay, I can't see anyone else indicating. There's no one indicating in the room or online. Thank you again for this report. And I think that it's powerful, it's detailed, and combined with the visit that we had, I think it just demonstrates what an excellent job is being done. And to ensure that we have that level of consistency. Thanks for the answer to that as well, which a few members had raised. You know, we're seeing something lovely here. I've got to commend the passion, the enthusiasm, and as one of the head teachers we visited said, a healthy level of obsessive compulsive disorder in the leadership in the school. And I thought that was quite funny. But that attention to detail, really came through, and that was powerful, wasn't it? Sandra, Councillor Joy, is nodding in the meeting here. So committee members, at section 13.14, we've got a draft statement for food in Swansea schools, which outlines a number of important areas of consideration. Can I ask you if you think those areas are good, and the areas that the report should concentrate on, the statement should concentrate on, or whether there's any others we would want to add, perhaps? Are we content with A to G as listed in paragraph 14? Councillor Joy, thank you. Sandra, thank you. Sam, thank you. Mike, thank you. Lyndon, thanks everyone. So that's a big thumbs up for us, and a big sense of gratitude for your efforts in putting this together in such an important area. For, is it 19,000 meals a day? That is incredible, isn't it? It really is. Thank you very much indeed. So we move on and we look at our agenda when I can get myself organised, and we see that we're left to focus on the work plan, agenda item number 5. And our next meeting is on the 26th of November, reading and numeracy, and the Swansea Council Plan and Performance Assessment Report. And so there's a date for your diaries. I don't think we have anybody indicating. Nobody wants to say anything else. And on that point, I will thank you all very much, committee members, for your attendance, officers, for your brilliant insights once again, and I'll close the meeting. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, everyone.